省政府共同打造全国首个乡村振兴金融创新示范区，与各级地方政府签订合作协议，汇聚服务乡村振兴广阔合力。农业银行服务乡村振兴获得各方认可，在人民银行、银保监会金融机构服务乡村振兴考核评估中，农业银行连续获得最高等级优秀。未来，农业银行将秉承金融为民理念，延续服务三农荣光，持续提升乡村振兴金融服务质效，助力建设农业强国，让共同富裕的梦想落实到每一寸土地。振兴乡村，携手共富，踔厉奋发，笃行不怠。中国农业银行。
跃动的字节标志着市场脉搏，起伏的曲线预言着产业变迁。经济信息的背后，蕴藏着民族兴旺密码。中国经济信息社是新华社直属的专业经济信息服务机构，是国家高端智库建设试点单位，帮助政府、企业、机构占领信息高地，洞悉市场规律，把握行业先机，发现投资价值。上世纪80年代，邓小平同志为新华社题词，开发信息资源，服务4化建设。新华社设立中国经济信息社，开创了中国经济信息事业的先河。经过30多年的发展，新华社构建了中国权威性最强、服务领域最广、产品种类最全的经济信息产品和服务体系。4大战略性重点产品：新华财经，国家金融信息平台，连接金融市场，为投资、交易、风控、估值、研究提供专业服务，致力于为用户创造价值，助力经济发展，维护国家金融信息安全。以专业终端、公共终端、移动终端和数据服务4大产品形态，提供资讯、数据、交易、展示等金融信息综合服务。新华丝路，一带一路国家级信息服务平台，对接一带一路建设中的各类走出去与引进来需求，为参与各方提供线上全流程信息咨询和线下一站式服务。新华信用，国家级信用信息平台，国家首批综合信用服务机构试点，在企业信用、行业信用、城市信用等领域提供查询、发布、咨询和智库等多项服务。新华指数，提供综合性指数的编制、发布、运营及推广服务，涵盖金融、能源化工、制造、农业、文旅、交通等产业。基础性信息服务体系，新华中金智库，提供定制化经济研判、战略研究、智库调研服务，以及能源、农业、房地产、海洋、烟草、文旅、大健康、酒业、智能制造等专业领域的深度分析与咨询，研究成果获得中央和业界高度认可。新华政务，主要面向各级党政机关、事业单位、公共机构及社会团体等，提供有关政府管理和社会治理等方面的信息产品和咨询服务。新华舆情，提供全媒体、境内外多语种舆情监测和分析服务，帮助用户科学应对舆情风险。数据服务，囊括宏观经济数据、行业经济数据、资本市场数据、法律法规数据等， 并提供定制化数据解决方案。
Distinguished officials and dear guests, good morning, everyone. Welcome all of you to be here at the annual conference of the Financial Street Forum, the sub-forum for financial support for rural revitalization. I myself is the chair from the China Economic Information Service of China News Agency, Ren Weiwei. This forum was co-organized by the Xinhua News Agency and the Foreign Exchange Administration of China and the People's Bank of China. And this time, we have this conference undertaken by the Beijing branch of the China Economic Information Service of Xinhua News Agency. We have their representatives and officials and scholars from the relevant institutes to jointly discuss how we are going to make sure the financial can provide new opportunities for revitalization of the rural areas. And please allow me to give the introduction of the officials present here today. They are the party group member and Director of Foreign Affairs, Xinhua News Agency, Vice President Yuan Bingzhong, Mr. Fu Wanxun. We also have the party member of the party group, Vice Chairman of Standing Committee of the Beijing Municipal People's Congress, Li Yingjin, and Chi Jintao, General Manager, Vice Secretary, Party Group, and China Grain Service Reserves Group Limited, and Li Jinghui. We also have the Secretary General. We also have the representative from the NDRC, Mr. Huang Hanquan, from the Center of Price and Cost Investigation. We also have the member of the party group of the Agricultural Bank of China, Xu Yibin, Vice President of Baidu, Li Shuo, from Huaxia Bank, the President of Huaxia Bank, Guan Wenjie, please welcome. Chairman and the President of the China Economic Information Service, Wang Minghao, the President of Beijing branch of Xinhua News Agency, and the Vice Head of the Beijing Financial Institute, the Vice District Mayor of Xizheng District, Nie Jieying, the Vice President of Beijing Rural Commercial Bank, the Vice President and Head of Government Affairs of Greater China, Weisa Zhang Zhaoyang. We also have many guests to present from the media. Let's give a warm applause to welcome all of you to be here. First, we'd like to give the floor to the Vice Director, Vice President and Party Group Member of Xinhua News Agency, Yuan Bingzhong, to give the opening remarks. Distinguished guests and ladies and gentlemen, dear friends, and good morning. Today, we are all gathered here in the financial street to jointly talk about the topic of financial support for rural revitalization. First, on behalf of Xinhua News Agency, I would like to extend a warm welcome to all the guests present here today. And I would like to thank for the relevant departments and the financial institutions and enterprises for your long-term support to Xinhua News Agency. Thank you very much. The Financial Street Forum was established in the year 2012. Its whole experiences has experienced that the new era of the 10 years after the founding of after the 18th National Congress. In the new era, with the leadership of the CPC centered by President Xi, China has fulfilled built the historical task of building a moderately prosperous society. We realized the first centenary goal, and now we are working to build us as a comprehensive, strong, and prosperous country. Now we are in a new journey. if we can realize the national rejuvenation, the rural revitalization is definitely important, which is the important strategic deployment made by the Central Committee and also the basic way and fundamental way. The 20th Congress report have said that the most daunting task was still in the rural areas. So it is asked to improve the protection of the rural of the farmer and improve the financial support to the rural areas. So the topic of today's forum is financial support for rural revitalization. It's an important way for us to follow the tasks laid out in the 20th National Congress report. We're going to have the pragmatic discussion about the latest information, and the Xinhua News Agency will do a very good job in terms of the promotion of these discussions we're having today. In the new era, the rural economy has realized a new landscape and developed a model. It highly relied on the information technologies, and the new industries and new dynamics focus more about the diversified functions in the rural areas and the multiple values of the rural areas. The cooperatives and the household farmers and other new major players has become a way to have become the major customer for the financial services. So we need to invest more and to transfer the value, and all this cannot be realized without the information technology. So as the Xinhua News Agency, as a high and think tank in information sharing, we are going to provide the support of information and data. First, in order to we are going to provide the support of the public opinions for the financial support for the rural revitalization. We are going to provide authoritative interpretation of the report of the 20th National Congress. We also have an investigation and service and interviews of the farmers, provide very vivid examples and materials for further learning of the report. We also study the feedbacks of the decisions made and precisely released authoritative information. And we are going to work to guide the public opinions and to publicize the major information about the rural revitalization and to show that CPCs remain committed to leading all the people to live a better life. Secondly, to also provide high-quality information and data support for the rural revitalization. With the guidance of relevant ministries and departments, Xinhua News Agency has developed a systematic market index and price index and the rural revitalization and the rural tourism index in the rural revitalization. We also initiated the system monitoring platform to better support the work of the modernization of rural areas and the agriculture. We are about to release the index this time for the on this conference for the first time. All your suggestions are welcome. We are providing this information platform, and the Xinhua News Agency is working together with relevant departments and the local governments to develop the index and data in different sectors and in different regions. And all these data are farmer related and rural affairs related. We are building the information bridge between different players to help finance and to reduce the cost of the finance and reduce the risk of financing. So in our credit system, we are working together with the social security system to solve the problems and to have the data monitoring for the cases where the farmers' salaries were not paid in time. Thirdly, we are providing a high-end think tank support. The high-end think tank of the Xinhua News Agency has accumulated a lot of experiences in the rural areas. We have the experiences in this aspect about hot topics, and they have been the reference for the internal use of the government. And these different forms of information can be supplied to the government for the reference. We're also working together with MERA and DRC and the National Rural Revitalization Bureau. We have been releasing the typical cases for 3 years already. And today we also have the guest from the MERA and the China Economic Information Service, and we're going to jointly release the typical cases for the rural revitalization supported by financial service. The rural areas is huge, and the financial service can definitely achieve a lot. Next stage, we're going to in-depthly learn about the spirit of the 20th National Congress, make a full use of our advantages, and to make efforts to realize the rural revitalization. We're willing to work together with all the colleagues to provide our own contribution to the rural revitalization. Finally, I wish a successful release of different outcomes and looking forward to the sharing of the experts. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, President Yuan. Just as what Mr. Yuan have said, Yinhua News Agency has gathered all the information, and also it is a high-end think tank. We're continuing to provide the support for the opinion guidance and provide more services and the service as a high-end think tank. We always say that the financial service is the bloodline, is the blood for the current rural economic development. So, how to make sure that the financial services can better empower the rural revitalization? Would you like to give the floor to Mr. Fu Wanjun to give the opening remarks, who is the Vice Party Secretary of the Agricultural Bank of China? Distinguished Mr. Yuan and Director Jinghui, and distinguished officials and their guests, good morning. I myself is very glad to be here to attend the annual conference of a Financial Street Forum and the Sub-Forum of Financial Support for Rural Revitalization. President Xi has proposed that to fully build the modernized socialist country, the most daunting task is still in the rural areas. As a bank working to provide services to the rural areas, ABC has always taken rural revitalization as the core of all of our works. We were working to build us as a guiding or leading bank to provide service to the rural areas and make our own contribution to realize the rural revitalization. The loans for the rural areas has increased from 2 trillion to 7.2 trillion to this year. Our major feature is that number one, we are outlining the major features of our services to serve the rural revitalization, focus on the food industry and specialized agriculture, processing and the circulation of the agricultural food. We focus on the clusters of the industries and to build agricultural parks and these major areas. We also provide services to the cooperatives and the household farms, etc., promoting the integration of the supply chain and to empower the rural areas to realize the development of themselves. The loans has reached 1.4 trillion RMB this year. And secondly, we're promoting green development in the rural areas, focus on the upgrading and transformation of the existing agriculture industry. We focus on the areas of the improvement of the environment in the rural areas. We have promoted the policies of zero interest loans and carbon sinking and forest loans to promote the improvement of the environment in the rural areas. And these types of the loans is more than 1 trillion RMB. Number three, to further promote the digitalized transformation, we are accelerating the application of technologies. We have provided a lot of online loan issuing products and the financing platform and built the ecosystem for the scenarios of the financial services in the rural areas to make sure that the modern financial services can be available in the rural areas. At the end of October, this online financing products is about $75 million and providing services to the over 44 million households in the rural areas. The registered users of the county levels banks is about 200 million. And the second, continue to guarantee the consistency of the policy and to implement the requirement from the central government, continue to make sure that to provide more services to the major people, major groups for the poverty reduction. We have already provided the coverage of the financial services to the 160 poverty towns, especially for the remote and impoverished counties. And at August, the residue is about 1.7 trillion in these types of the loans. So these and also about 6 billion RMB. And we are also working to realize the cultural revitalization. So working together with MERA and the Ministry of Culture and Tourism, we are helping the rural areas to further develop themselves into the tourist spots and to make sure the culture can be further promoted.
We support more than 1,300 counties to develop their resources, help them to further make use of their red revolutionary genes to develop their tourism industry. We also help them to establish credit villages and credit counties. We promote the rural financial system upgrading and the improvement of governance in the rural area. In the report of the 20th National Congress of the CPC, President Xi Jinping said we need to comprehensively promote rural rejuvenation. For financial sector, we need to play a bigger role. We need to implement the spirit of the National Congress of the CPC. We need to be firm to provide high-quality financial services to help to promote the development of agriculture and rural areas of China. I would like to make 4 initiations. Firstly, we would like to further emphasize the importance of food security. Food security is very critical to the economic development. Financial institutions need to fully implement the requirements of food security. For food and major green products, we need to provide strong financial services. ABC will continue to develop our financial services for the whole chain of food production from farmland to table. Secondly, we should continue to improve the common prosperity in the rural areas and farmers. Modernization of China is modernization of all the people. Financial institutions should try our best to meet the demand of the people for a beautiful life. We need to continue to improve the coverage and depth of financial services. ABC will always focus on the needs of the people. We will better serve the people in the process of their life and work. Especially, we will help those poverty-stricken but areas which have already gotten out of poverty to better enjoy the results of economic growth. Thirdly, we need to use the technologies to provide better financial services. Right now, in the rural area, new factors are emerging. Informationization is being accelerated. Financial institutions need to follow this trend. We need to continuously make innovations to better meet the differentiated financial demands of the people. ABC will continue to make technological innovation and system innovation. We will continuously improve our business model and service model. In this way, we can make our own contributions to financial support for rural revitalization. Fourthly, we will focus on both development and security. To have high-quality development, we must guard against risks. Financial institutions must understand the pattern of development in the rural area. In terms of improving service quality, we also need to make sure the financial services for rural revitalization is stable. We will continue to strengthen risk management. We will further strengthen our capacity of targeted risk management. In this way, while providing financial support for rural revitalization, we are also able to well control risks. in the 20th National Congress of the CPC, the blueprint has been described. The people need higher efficient financial services. We still have a long way to go. The ABC will work with all of our peers to further promote financial support for rural revitalization. In this way, to build strong agriculture, to build the common prosperity in the rural area. And in the agriculture sector, we can make joint contributions. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Van Jun, very much. Through Mr. Van Jun's introduction, we are able to understand the practices of Agricultural Bank of China in providing financial support for rural revitalization. Now, I would like to give the floor to Li Yingjin, Deputy Director of the Standing Committee of the Beijing Municipal People's Congress. Please. Honorable Mr. Bing Zhong, Honorable Wan Jun, Honorable Jing Hui, Honorable Jing Tao, Honorable guests, ladies and gentlemen, dear friends, we are very glad to be able to gather together with all of you. Our forum was created in 2012. It's been held for the 10th year. It has a high prestige in the international financial community. It is a banner of financial reform in China. So here on behalf of Beijing municipality, I would like to express my sincere thanks to all of you, the representatives from the regulators, from the financial sector, as well as from the academia and from the media. I would like to say thank you for your years of support for the economic and social development of capital city over the years. Thank you very much. The theme of this year is especially the theme of this session is financial support for rural revitalization. It is a major deployment of the Central Committee of the party. It is critical for us to build a modern socialist country. In the report of the 20th National Congress of the CPC to build a modern socialist country, the toughest task still lies in the rural area. We need to make sure priority be given to agriculture and rural area. We need to have integrated development of rural and urban areas. We need to promote the circulation of factors in the rural area. We need to strengthen the development of agriculture. We also need to further promote the industry, talents, culture, ecological environment, and organizational revitalization in the rural area. We need to further improve financial services system in the rural area. Finance is the core of a modern economy. The bloodline of a real sector to comprehensively promote rural revitalization is the priority of the new issue. It is also a very important principle for financial institutions to carry out financial service in the rural area. In this meeting, we focus on how to make better use of the financial role in order to promote the development of a multiple level, wide coverage, compatible and competitive, as well as a risk controllable modern rural financial system. How to further use financial support for rural revitalization. It is a very important topic. It is also a very significant topic. I believe all the participants in this event will share opinions with each other in this area. We are able to share experiences with each other in this topic. Beijing focused a lot on this topic in recent years. In Beijing, we have been actively exploring how we are able to promote the development of the suburb area by efforts in the urban area. We have been exploring how we are able to further promote the development of industries in the rural area. All types of financial institutions in Beijing have been strengthening support for rural revitalization. They've established a financial organizational system in the 14th five-year plan period. Beijing will further deepen financial support for rural revitalization. We will further improve rural financial institutions' service system. We will encourage financial institutions to establish various outlets in the rural area to support revitalization. Financial technologies should be used to upgrade the service functions of the grassroots outlets. We will actively promote the rural credit information platform development. We will promote banks and rural area, villages, agriculture, taxation, and civil affairs departments collaboration. In this way, we're able to further expand the collection channels of credit information in the rural area. We will make innovations of credit products. In this way, we're able to further promote the common prosperity. Beijing will also use its advantages to promote the development of a seed industry. We will develop agriculture 中关村 with global influence for food security and for major agricultural products supply. We're able to make our own contributions. I hope that all of our guests here can make a best use of this opportunity to pay attention to the case studies of financial support for rural revitalization. In the future, we are able to make more advices and recommendations in this area. I'd like to thank Xinhua News Agency, Ministry of Agriculture and Rural Affairs, as well as other related departments for your years of support for this work. I hope that you can continue to give us support in the future. In the end, I wish our event a full success. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Li, very much for your great talks. Mr. Li pointed out that according to 20th National Congress of the CPC, to build a modern socialist country, the biggest and the toughest task still lies in the rural area. We should adhere to the integrated development of both rural and urban areas. But how should we do to strengthen financial support for rural revitalization? Now I'd like to invite Mr. Li Jinghui from the National Rural Revitalization Bureau. Honorable Ying Jun, Honorable Bing Zhong, and Honorable Wan Jun, and distinguished leaders and experts, honorable friends. Firstly, on behalf of our organization, I would like to give you great congratulations on this session on financial support for rural revitalization. I'd also like to express my sincere thanks for your years of support over the years. Finance is very critical to the national economy. To implement rural revitalization is a strategy of our top leadership. In the new era, it is a very critical priority. To comprehensively promote rural revitalization, we need financial support. We need to study the spirit of the 20th National Congress of the CPC. We need to improve financial system. We need to enhance financial service capacity. With high-quality financial support, we can promote rural revitalization, especially in 4 aspects. Firstly, focusing on key areas and strengthening our support for the poverty-stricken areas. According to the report of the 20th National Congress of the CPC, to build a modern socialist country, the toughest task still lies in the rural area. To get rid of poverty is very critical for the poor rural areas. The development there has been accelerated, but compared with other parts of the country, their development is still slower. To support rural revitalization by the financial sector, we need to focus on those poor areas. We need to study the formulation of targeted financial support measures. We need to strengthen the key help areas and counties. We especially need to focus on those areas in the counties where the poverty needs to be eliminated. we need to formulate the policies to encourage more western areas to receive support from the eastern areas. Secondly, we need to focus on the whole industrial chain and the leading companies' role. We need to use their strengths to promote rural revitalization. According to the report, to develop rural sectors to help the farmers to have increasing revenues, to boost industrial development is a precondition to address rural issues. In recent years, industrial development in the rural area has got certain foundation. However, we need to be aware that rural industrial development is still in the early stage, especially during the pandemic, and also because of the natural disaster impacts, as well as the insufficient financial support. The problems there are more urgent to give financial support for rural revitalization. We need to especially focus on the local industrial sectors. We need to provide more credit. We need to study how to support the industrial chain there. We need to consider how the specialized credit unions as well as the leading companies can play their role in rural revitalization. We need to consider how we can better use the role of insurance.
We'd like to promote the integrated development of the primary, secondary, and tertiary industry development. Number 3, we hope that we can make provide enough driving force to realize the green development. And the report has said that we should help the farmers in the impoverished areas to be further developed by themselves. So after the poverty has been alleviated, many of the farmers has been very inactive in living a better life, but also it's hard for them to get finance or get loans at a reasonable price. So we need to help to provide the precision support to the rural areas to strengthen the efforts to help the impoverished to the people who just got rid of poverty to be back in a poor state again. We should also help them to increase their awareness about the risks and the markets. We should make pragmatic actions to help these farmers. Number 4, we should work to build livable and beautiful villages and to provide the financial support to them. The 20th National Congress report has talked about to build the livable, harmonious, and beautiful villages, which is the expectation of the farmers to have a better life and to have a beautiful environment. In recent years, the productivity level and the living environment has been improved a lot, but still the infrastructures and the public services are also not covered enough in the rural areas, and there were very obvious shortcomings. So to further support the financial support, we should make sure that based on meeting the policy requirement, we should focus on the features of the long term of the investment and the return on the investment and long construction of the infrastructures. We should provide targeted financial services to improve our services and support to build a livable and beautiful countryside. And ladies and gentlemen, dear experts and dear friends, the depth and width and the difficulty of revitalization in the rural areas is not easier than the poverty reduction. We should provide more competitiveness. The National Bureau of Rural Revitalization would like to working together with all of you to promote the typical best practices and to improve the efficiency to make sure the financial services can better help the farmers to have a better life and to improve their own ability to realize the better life, and also to make sure the countryside will be beautiful and livable and harmonious. Finally, I wish you full success of the conference. Thank you very much. Thank you very much for the wonderful presentation of Mr. Li. Now we are going to enter into the next stage of the keynote speech. I'd like to give the floor to Chi Jintao, the General Manager of Vice Secretary and the Party Group of China Grain Reserves Group Limited Company, to give the keynote speech. Welcome. Distinguished President Bing Zhou and You Ji and President Wan Jing, and distinguished colleagues and dear friends, and ladies and gentlemen, good morning. Thank you very much for the invitation of the organizer, and I'm very glad to participate in this forum to share with you how the China Grain Reserves Group is working to use the finance to empower the rural revitalization. I'd like to share with you our practice and thoughts and 3 ideas to be shared. Number 1, our group, since the founding of the group, has always working to guarantee the food safety and to serve the rural affairs and the farmers, and the people are the foundation of the people. So the President Xi pay high attention to the food security and always pay attention to this. And he also pointed out that the food security is the basic priority of the government. To provide the enough support is always the important thing to keep the livelihood of the people. So the food security is always the important task, and we cannot let our guard down any time. In the report of the 20th National Congress, President Xi has reaffirmed that we should comprehensively consolidate the foundation of the food security to ensure that we will hold tight our own food. So this is a way for us to think about the potential risks. So when we are in a stable and a safe time, this is also the in-depth insight of President Xi. This is also the long-term planning for this country. And we are the largest grain reserves group among the SOEs. So as a group to provide strategic support to guarantee the food safety, and also with the major task of providing services to the rural areas, we connecting the thousands of households in the rural areas and the dynamic market. When building us as a strong power of agriculture, we played an indispensable role in guarantee the food safety in China. Over the decades, we are working to implement the important infrastructures. Important instructions of President Xi. We are realizing the coordination among our group to make sure that as long as there are the grains, there definitely will be our warehouses, as long as there's need for the food, and we can provide the food to them. In terms of the resource allocation among the country, we are shouldering the important responsibilities to ensure that we will be the ballast stone for the food security, to maintain the stability of the supply chain of the food. It is fair to say that since the founding of our group to serve the rural areas, and has become the DNA of us, and it is also the main business of us to make sure that people's price can get a good price when they sell the food, and we are working to guarantee the food safety and to guarantee the interest of the farmers to serve the rural revitalization, rural areas, and the farmers. And in this process, financial services also played a very important role. And second idea, with financial service to support the rural revitalization, our group has come out with our own operation model. One is that we are providing further powers to the warehouses. Since the year 2009, we started to have the centralized management of the capitals to make sure that we can manage well these capitals and the fund. And after over 10 years of practice, we have set up a experience of the centralized fund management system with our own features. In December 2020, in terms of this fund management center, we also have set up the financial company of our group so that we can not just to manage this fund, we can also operate this fund, and we also have only one department, but now it is a independent legal person to manage this capital. This is a milestone progress. Our group mainly working to make sure that we can better manage the food and the fund and the grains to come out with the landscape of not only manage the grains and also to realize the financial management. And also we are empowering the rural revitalization with our branches and companies at grassroots level because they are very close to the farmers. And we focus on the key areas to support the rural revitalization, and we are having very good and stable development in these aspects. And all these efforts are very productive. Over the 10 years, we have acquired policy-oriented grains about 1 billion tons and help the farmers to realize 200 billion RMB for the farmers so that people can actually get the very concrete benefit. And we are covering about 90% of the administrative areas and 95% of the counties with the agricultural production. And so our services are quite close to the farmers and very hard for them, very good for them to solve the problem of difficulties of selling their grains. We also have developed an APP so that the farms can to have an appointment on these apps to get the acquisition of the food without going out. So we are also avoided the intermediate agencies when they are acquiring the food from the farmers. We are also providing the further powers for the rural revitalization. We are providing a fast loan to increase the facilitation of the loans. We provide these loans for fighting the COVID-19 so that the capitals will be channeled to the COVID-hit areas, and to make sure that we can provide the loans can be issued on the day when it is approved, and to maximize the support from the financial service. So this can help these operational companies to overcome these difficulties. We also have set up the digital RMB pilot area for the settlement and promote the increasing of these scenarios. The payment successful rate is very high, and there were more choices provided to the farmers. So we can guarantee that one, they sold the grains and they can get the monies immediately. The farmers have felt the facilities brought by the financial services. So from financial leasing used to be very difficult for them, and now it is quite easy to be accessed by the farmers. And the third area is that our group will continue to write a new chapter for rural revitalization supported by the financial services. Guided by the report of the 20th National Congress of CPC, we're going to provide high quality support to the rural revitalization. We're going to build us as a world-leading grain reserves group and setting up the capacity for the emergency response. We're also having the top digital management system for the grains. We are going to further consolidate our responsibility to make sure that we are holding tight the food of our own selves and to serve the macroeconomic regulation and to make sure we can guarantee the minimum requirement, that is the grains harvested by the farmers can be sold easily, Also, at the same time, we will guarantee there will be unstopped supply to the food market. We're also going to strengthen the financial function to make sure how we are going to improve the incomes for the farmers. Continue to use the digital RMB and to better serve the works for the rural areas and the farmers and the agriculture. We are going to make sure there will be the premium for the food at the same time to increase the output of the agricultural products, making our own contribution by the China Grain Reserves Group. Thank you very much. Thank you, General Manager Chi, for your wonderful sharing. Indeed, President Xi have said in many different occasions that we should hold tight our own food, and would like to thank the China Grain Reserves Group for their own important contribution to guarantee the food supply and food security. Of course, the financial institutions is also very important in rural revitalization. We'd like to give the floor to member of the Party Committee and Vice President of AB's Agricultural Development Bank of China, Xu Yiding, to give the remarks. Distinguished guests and ladies and gentlemen, good morning. I myself is very glad to be invited to be here. And on behalf of the Agricultural Development Bank of China, I would like to congratulate on the convening of the forum, and I would like to thank all the friends and officials who has been giving great support to us for a long time. Today, I would like to talk about to seize the 5 major advantages and features of China's modernization. So as the only agricultural policy bank, we are always following the instruction of President Xi, that is to make full play of the policy-oriented banks.
We fully provide financial support for rural revitalization. Right now, we have a large outstanding loan balance, and we have received a number of awards to help rural revitalization as well. We've also got excellent award over several years for our efforts of financial support for rural revitalization. Especially in recent years, during the pandemic, we have been following the requirements of the central government about preventing and controlling the pandemic while maintaining economic growth. We have been making detailed deployment. So far, we have released loans 2.3 trillion, an increase of 1.17 trillion. The net added value of loans compared with the same period of last year increased by 100%. We have achieved the annual plan of the PBC 1 quarter earlier. Within 3 months, we achieved 24.9 billion of agriculture infrastructure investment. We also stimulated around a total investment of 3 trillion. We've also provided the loans for the guarantee of delivery of properties in different places. We actively promoted our role of a policy bank for rural revitalization. We have made our own major contributions. In the 20th National Congress, the future goals have been established and carefully designed. We emphasize to stick to the comprehensive rejuvenation of the Chinese nation to further promote rural revitalization. We have pointed out the direction. We provide financial support for rural revitalization. We always follow the requirement of the party. We implement the strategies of the party about rural area, agriculture, and farmers. We must stick to the 5 characteristics of modernization with the Chinese characteristics. we firmly understand the characteristic of a large population. We provide financial support for rural revitalization. According to 20th National Congress report, we need to further strengthen the foundation of food security to address the food issue of 1.4 billion people. That is the most pressing matter. In recent years, we have been providing green loans every year. We also provide financial support for the reserve of greens. We also formulate our branding in the area of food security guarantee. Among 1.4 billion, we have a large proportion of rural population. To build a modern socialist country, those rural populations should be able to step into the modern society. But it's going to be very complicated. Since we were founded, we always stick to our role as a policy bank. We have been increasing our financial support for the agriculture, rural area, and farmers. In the future, we will continue to strengthen our mission and responsibility. We will firmly provide financial support for the people. We will firmly provide financial support for rural revitalization. We will try to play our role as a forerunner in the financial support for rural revitalization. Secondly, we need to promote common prosperity in the rural area. Common prosperity is the fundamental requirement of socialism. At present, rural and urban development is still not balanced, especially in the rural area. In recent years, our bank has been continuously formulating differentiated supporting policies for the rural area. We have been providing financial support for rural revitalization. We have provided targeted poverty alleviation loans. Compared with the same period of last year, we have increased the size of such loans. For the rural areas, for major projects, we've also increased our resources allocation. We fully support poverty-stricken areas to further consolidate their results of elimination of poverty. In the future, we will continue to establish our plan to further promote common prosperity. In terms of policy measures, we will further make efforts to help to narrow down the disparity in the rural and urban areas. We will further help those low-income population in the rural areas. We will continuously improve our loan services to provide support for the rural area. We will further strengthen our internal assessment system so that we can further highlight our priority of promoting common prosperity. Thirdly, we will comprehensively support the development of beautiful rural area. According to the 20th National Congress report, we need to comprehensively promote rural revitalization at present in the rural area. Industrial development foundation is weak. Road and water supply still needs to be further strengthened. Education and public health and other public service functions need to be further strengthened. In recent years, our bank has been working comprehensively in the rural area to establish the infrastructure foundation in the area. We've also further increased our loan issuance in those areas in order to further promote modernization in the rural area. We have also released a large amount of infrastructure loans in the rural area, which has also increased compared with the same period of the previous year. In the next stage, according to the requirement of the report, we will comprehensively support national food security. We will also further promote the seed industry development. We will comprehensively support the specialized industry sectors in the rural area. We will further promote the convergence of the rural and urban areas development. We will further promote support for infrastructure construction in the rural area. We will help to promote coordinated development of material and spiritual civilization in the rural area. Fourthly, we will further strengthen support of green finance. In recent years, our bank has been implementing the requirements of the central government. Right now, we are actively providing green credit in the future in the rural area to further support clean energy development and ecological industry. We will actively explore how we are able to convert those agriculture and ecological assets into the usable financial assets. We will further promote the development of a green bond. We will further expand the green finance sources. Fifthly, we will firmly stick to the pathway of peaceful development. We will stick to opening up. According to the 20th National Congress report, we must have a broad horizon. In recent years, our bank has been actively promoting international collaboration and cooperation. We have been sharing our own experience with the rest of the world. In recent years, we have been further promote our product offering to help to reduce poverty, especially in Guizhou province. We help the local farmers to consolidate their achievement of poverty alleviation. In the future, our bank will further focus on the development of a new development pattern. We will use both domestic and international markets and resources to further support the import of agricultural products as well as the exports of Chinese agricultural products. We will further promote our international business development. We will also strengthen cooperation with international organizations, including the World Bank. We will further promote our case studies promotion in the rest of the world. We will tell a good story of financial support for rural revitalization in China. We will make our own contributions in this process. In the end, I wish our event a full success. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Xu, very much for your great introduction. As Agricultural Policy Bank, ADBC over the years has been dedicated in the process of providing financial support for rural revitalization. It has made its own contributions. Now I'd like to invite Li Shuo, Vice President of Baidu, to give us a speech. Honorable leaders and guests, I'm from Baidu. I'm Li Shuo. I'm very glad to be able to give you a report today. Baidu's practices of integrating science and technology and finance and provide a service for rural revitalization. Today, my topic is financial support and technological support for the building of beautiful villages. In the process of serving rural revitalization, I've also visited Shiguang and Lintao of Shandong and Gansu. I've seen that indeed digital technology can really play a major role. Today, we've seen the integration of digital technology in the farmland, in agricultural production, Internet of Things, and artificial intelligence technology make it is possible for the whole production process visible. The technological progress has also make life more convenient in the rural area. Our industrial Internet of Things in a lot of counties have been implemented. Since last year, we've also seen that in infrastructure construction, digital plan is also integrated into those plans. So today when we talk about the smart technologies, they can make data visible. Not just that, in many production scenarios, they are also creating value added. We have developed our own patented AI technology, including AI chip, Kunlun, and deep learning framework, as well as our large model. With those core technologies, we have built a perception, decision-making, control, and feedback. A closed loop has been established. It can be used in different sectors to further enhance value. To some extent, when we develop our Internet of Things, we realize that sensors' role can be used to replace the manual labor in many production scenarios. they can be deployed in the farmland. By 27, they are able to monitor the changes in the physical world. As more sensors are deployed, their monitoring capacity is also enhanced. In this way, we can achieve scale of economy. On the basis of the massive data generated by Internet of Things, we should also understand how to better understand those data and process those data. In the past, farmers just look at the weather and then make a judgment of temperature, humidity, and sunshine. But today, machines can be used to better understand those large amount of real-time data. Such real-time understanding of the data is unimaginable in the old traditional practices. From those complicated data, we are able to find the best parameters, and then we're able to make informed decisions. We are able to help the farmers to make part of their decisions. This big data and AI-based decision making through our control system can be fed back to the production process in a real-time manner, and eventually we're able to create a whole set of model of value creation. This model can become smarter and smarter, and eventually is able to go beyond the silos of individual practices and experiences, and they are able to become a carrier of core knowledge. In the past, we say in the factory or in the farmland, we have apprentices. However, after 20 years of experience, the apprentices have become new masters. But today, in this new issue, those masters might be machines, and those machines might even outperform all the masters. The machines are able to integrate the experience of all the masters, and once they are able to reach a certain threshold, this new production, this real production knowledge carrier can be developed. Today, in many vegetable sheds and in many factory workshops, those new machine masters are emerging in those occasions. Such new type of digital infrastructure generates information. The information can be used for production and also for many other purposes. One of the major users is the financial institutions. When providing financial support for rural revitalization, they can also use such data so that they can better bring their financial services to the farmland.
When actually building the system by using these financial technologies and the diversification of agriculture, we come out with a very good model. We can find this demand and respond to the service, and finally, we can meet the demand. And this is a very sound cycle has been formed. In this process, the data elements has indeed become a very important way for the foundation for the service industry and the supply chain of the financial service and supply chain of the industry. And among all these very complex processes, we can use the technology to better matching the data from each other, and in order to make sure that we can provide very precise information. We also have built two major anchors. One is the privacy algorithm. So by having this algorithm, we can integrate we have integrated the services from different aspects. For example, the meteorological data and many of the jurisdiction data are joined together to build a new credit system for the rural areas. And secondly, about the Internet of Things and the marginalized algorithm. This new technology can make sure that the actual practice and scenarios for production can be used. These data generated can provide more micro perspective. Maybe they are not at the macro level, but we can indeed felt that whether the data from this specific greenhouse are really working, and whether the specific machinery is working. And all these data are very important for the modeling and the grant issuing. to implement, to increase the current capacity and to realize in-depth integration of the service with the data. At the same time, we can use this technology to build a knowledge system and to help more agriculture-related enterprises to precisely learn about the actual demand and improve the capacity to make sure the authorities and the parties to serve the agriculture can realize the smart management, and at the same time to make sure that these farmers in the farms and the cooperative enterprises are willing and dare to issue the loans. And to get the loans, we have several cases. For example, in Shouguang, just as I have shown on the first page, we help the vegetable farmers to realize the experience-based planting to the smart planting, and more farmers are willing to get the loans because they have found out the empowerment from the technologies. For example, we use the smart technology to realize the digital management, selection of the breedings, and the scaled production and harvesting, and the post-harvesting processing to make sure that the output has been increased by 15 or 10%. At the same time, I use this optimized irrigation system. The utilization of the fertilizers have been reduced. The utilization rate of the maneuvers has been increased. And also, we have actually used these technologies to ensure that we can use these changes. And these kind of changes has made us to dare enough to increase our ability and to make sure that the future technologies can be further helped to increase the efficiency of the supply chain, etc. At the same time, in the rural areas, the water network treatment is also a very key, important sector. We can find out that in the cases where there's a very severe water shortage, we can still see the 50% of the leakage of the water. So this is also a very big space for the application of digital technology. So based on the water network, we are also working to provide a smarter solution for the rural areas water system. This is also applying in the area of water environment protection, the sewage treatment, the water facilities, and the water supply. This is to better guarantee the usage of the water. And these are being applied in the western and the central areas in China. When we have more outcomes, we are going to give you the further information. Looking forward to the future, we will focus on the integrated development. And when we are jointly promote the digitalization, there are a lot of knowledge and experiences are among the experts within the industry. In the future, this is very important, and we can also find out that Baidu, with other the colleagues are working together, including the financial sectors and other sectors. We hope that we can better promote in-depth cooperation of the technology and the finance and talents to ensure these three sectors can better serve the rural revitalization and to build the very harmonious, beautiful, and livable countryside. Thank you very much. Thank you very much for your wonderful sharing, and thank you for Baidu's practice and efforts in the rural revitalization. Now I would like to give the floor to Guan Wenjie, who is the president of Huaxia Bank, to give the keynote speech. Distinguished guests and ladies and gentlemen, good morning. Today I'm going to talk about how we can have the very big practice within the broad area of a rural area, and we can use the industry digital finance to empower the rural revitalization. And this is based on the history, current practice, and the future of the holdings banks. As we know that the holding commercial banks are the second major groups of the banks. It first developed from the developed areas of the urban areas, and in the past, when there's no enough technology, the services are mainly based on the outlets. And we can find out that among these second groups of the banks, it is a lack of its energy DNA about serving the rural areas. But until today, we have found out that, especially after the 19th National People's Congress of CPC, we know that now we are entering into a period for the innovation development. At the same time, in the digital era, in this area, we can find out some new changes of the financial services. For example, previously outlets, but now focus on the online, digitalized, and smart services. So in this broad background, and also with the reforms of the banks, we are also expanding our services, starting to provide support to the rural agriculture areas. So as the insiders from the banking system, we also myself know that in terms of the prudent management of the central banks, the second tiers banks, we didn't provide enough support to the rural areas. So today, when we just concluded the 20th National Congress of CPC, and when we need to further promote the rural revitalization, how can we make our own contribution as the second tier of the banks? I'd like to share with you our ideas and the practice in this aspect. So, from the existing time, the digital element has become the very important one. So the technology will further input the future development, and it will be a major driving force in the future. Of course, the local authorities have issued many different guidelines or the opinions on the action of the digital transformation. So the industry's digital information system are under construction in the whole country. At the end of the last year, the regulatory commission for the banks and securities and insurance has clearly stated that the banks should focus on the digital development and focusing on the rural areas. So the third aspect is that based on the industry internet, we've already seen the forming of the digital industries. We know that the fastest way is the area is represented by the manufacturing industry. Many of the SOEs and the big banks are working together, and then the banks are relatively slow than the industry. But from the perspective of the PBOC and the Regulatory Commission of the Banking and Insurance System, we are accelerating the integration of industry and the digital development. For the next development direction, in the 20th century, we've seen the strengthen, including the digital power, the country, and the trade strong power, and agricultural strong power, etc. Well, so many different initiatives to strengthen the country from different aspects. We can find out that they may have different focus, but finally they will working together. The first one is the industry industrialization, second, the trade digitalization, and last, the financial digitalization. These three aspects will working together and to come out with the new industry financial system. In terms of the agricultural side, after the internet, now we are a little bit later than the rural digitalization, but we also have our own thoughts. In the first aspect is that from the banks, we need to realize that we have the ability of resource allocation and integration. Just as Mr. Li have said, there will be the integration of our existing resources. For the tech companies and the financial institutions to enter into the rural areas, we definitely need to work together, use our own capacity to consolidate the resources again and to build the resources in three aspects. Number one, we should accelerate building the agricultural internet. There were so many different sayings, and now we're also talking about that. Some people propose to say that as Internet of Things of agriculture, and also the digitalization of the agriculture. But I think the agriculture internet is the area for the agricultural digital infrastructure, and we should accelerate the promotion of that. And secondly, in terms of the internet of agriculture, secondly, we should join hands with our partners to promote the digitalized development of the industrialization of the agricultural industry. So when we are selecting our partners, just as Huawei and Tencent and Langchao Shenma and also the robust group from the HIT, we are working together to enter into the rural areas. And within the industry, what has been demonstrated is that professionals should working in their own field. So during the digitalization of the rural areas, the tech companies are professional, but in terms of the digital financial services, the banks are the professional ones. The third aspect is to make sure that the rural areas will be fully covered by the banks, and this is what should be done by the banks. Due to time constraint, I just share with you these thoughts in the three aspects. In our practice, we have found out that the Huaxia Bank is working together with a Shandong company based on the land under the management of 20 million mu. And there are 32,000 villages. And for this financial commune, it is a upgrading and to build the digital infrastructure and to provide the industry digital financial services to them. And this is a very wide system. To simply put, that is to make sure that the financial system will be very diversified, that every aspect will automatically enjoy the financial service in the rural areas, and this is a target. And lastly, I'd like to say that we have all realized that finance is the blood. So all of us in the banks have the responsibility and the obligation to make sure the blood can be circulated very well to the most needed areas by the people and the country. We're going to use the industry digital finance to empower the rural revitalization to support the work. And this will be our continuous mission and the target. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Mr. Guan, for your wonderful sharing. Just now, by hearing your sharing, we have felt that when the finance is empowering the rural revitalization, indeed, there are a lot that can be realized. So due to the impact of the conference, we also have the other two speakers who cannot be here on site. And they are going to share with us their video to join the discussion and sharing. So first, I'd like to give the floor to the Party Secretary and President of Rural Credit Cooperative, Wang Xinyuan. Please enjoy the video. To implement the rural revitalization policy is the important decision made in the 19th National Congress of CPC, and also an important way for us to do a better job of serving the rural areas, agriculture, and the farmers in the new era. Our cooperative has always focused on the instruction of President Xi.
We have been fully understanding the requirement of rural revitalization. We have been providing financial services for rural revitalization. It is a requirement of the Party Central Committee, the State Council, the provincial, and the city level governments to provide financial services for rural revitalization. It's an inherent requirement for us. It is very critical to promote common prosperity. We use 14% of the deposit to provide 95% of microcredit in our province. We also provide 73% of loans to the farmers. We also support agriculture farmers, around 870,000 households. Throughout our province, every 10 households, 8 households receive our financial services. Among every 5 county-level enterprises, 3 of them receive our financial support. In recent years, we have been further improving systematical design. We have established a package of policies and measures to support rural revitalization. We formulate policy measures to help those areas and people who have gotten out of poverty. We further provide financial support for them. We focus on the needs of the people. We focus on the exploration of the people. We have established both physical outlets as well as our office and smart equipments. We have established a comprehensive financial service network to make contributions to rural revitalization. Over the 10 years, we have been comprehensively promote credit system development in the rural area. Right now, more than 70% of the rural area has been covered by our credit system. For the agriculture households, their accessibility to credit has been significantly enhanced. The rural governance is more harmonious. Focusing on our local conditions, we have been making creations and innovations of the offering of new financial products. We have been providing small and micro enterprises with strong financial support. At present, throughout the country, we are studying and implementing the spirit of the 20th National Congress of the CPC. According to the report, we should further promote the revitalization in the rural area. We need to improve financial system in the rural area. This has created the direction for us. We will follow the requirement of the report. We will always focus on the provision of financial services to meet the need of the people. We will make relentless efforts in Qinghai and Tibet Plateau in the sources of the three rivers. With our own wisdom, we will write a chapter of providing financial support for rural revitalization. Thank you, Mr. Wang, for sharing of their experience of a rural credit in Western China. Now we will invite Vice Chairman and CEO of Hang Seng Bank of China, Mr. Song Yuesheng, to give us his perspectives on this topic. Honorable guests, I'm very glad to participate in this year's Financial Street Forum, especially the discussion of financial services for rural revitalization. It's a pity that I'm not able to attend the meeting in person today, but still I'd like to thank the organizer for giving me this opportunity to share the perspective of a foreign-funded bank, how we are able to provide financial support for rural revitalization. In the 20th National Congress report, it is made very clear we need to comprehensively promote rural revitalization. In March this year, the PBC formulated a document to guide financial institutions to provide more financial support for agriculture, rural area, and farmers. Rural revitalization means that in the rural area, the ecology, life, and production have a comprehensive development. At present, in the rural area, the development still lags behind that in the urban area. In the rural revitalization, to promote the circulation of factors is very critical requirement. In this process, financial institutions can provide a major role, especially financial inclusion can help to promote the harmonious progress of the society. Hang Seng Bank of China is a foreign-funded financial institution, but we have been here for more than 30 years. We believe we need to focus on our own profit, of course, but we need to pay more attention to social responsibility and business ethics. When we carry out financial services, we need to include social aspects as well. We have been working hard to explore the effective measures to support rural revitalization. On the one hand, we have formulated a number of initiatives, including supporting rural revitalization, and we have formulated our New Future program. We also have initiatives to provide protection of biodiversity and ecological environment. Meanwhile, we also focus on the development of agriculture, rural areas, and farmers. We are reaching out to the remote rural areas. We help help the local agriculture business. Now I'd like to introduce our New Future Public Benefit Program. We hope that we can help the development of a talents pool in the rural area by this program. Meanwhile, we would also like to further enhance the advantages and assets in the rural area. We are aware that talents are critical to rural revitalization, especially in the rural area. The talent is in scarcity. So in 2021, we launched this New Future program. We try to help Sichuan and Shanxi provinces, underdeveloped regions, low-income rural youth to start up their own business. At the same time, through talent training, we can help to improve the governance capacity of the villager officials. And in 2022, we upgraded this program. We have jointly launched New Future, New Rural Economic Development Public Philanthropy Program. In Jingqiao Tuqiaozhen of Sichuan Province, we carried out a pilot program. By this program, we hope that we can explore new model of rural revitalization. We help the local place to train talents. We have explored the mechanism of talents training. At present, our rural talent training mechanism include the training camp, the training workshop, as well as one-on-one training programs to provide financial service for rural revitalization. Credit support is only one aspect. We can also tap the potential of the rural areas. We can support the rural areas to develop their own industrial sectors. We are able to convert the local characteristics into the development strengths. In rural revitalization, industrial revitalization is the core. Only with a booming industry, farmers' income can increase. Taking Tujiaozhen program as an example, in the local place, the rural area is a very typical southwestern region in China. To grow industry there, on the one hand, we need to turn the wild land into arable land. On the other hand, we need to improve the agricultural varieties and improve the quality of agricultural products. Right now, we are helping the local people to increase the arable land area. Right now, 160 mu of land has been reclaimed. In the future, we will continue to help the place to cultivate a high-quality agriculture business. We will invite experts to test the soil quality there, and then assessment will be conducted in order to choose the appropriate production plan. In this way, they're able to provide a high-quality agricultural products, which will be sold in the cities. Later, we will help the local households to see how they are able to use e-commerce platform to sell their products. We also realize that for rural areas, their own natural resources actually are endowments for them. Financial institutions can help them to make better use of green and ecological assets. With environmental protection, the local economic revitalization can also be achieved. Since 2020, in Hanizhu County, we have established a program there as well. Through this program, we're able to protect the local seas resources. In this way, we are also able to promote green development. In 2022, we further enriched our philanthropy program in Fujian in the wetland area. We also carried out a project together with the local government and other stakeholders. We helped to restore the local mangrove resources. In this way, we were able to promote the harmonious development. Through this program, first of all, we're able to help the local households to recover their aquaculture industry. The protection and the improvement of ecological environment can also boost the local tourism industry development. We're able to boost the rural revitalization. In addition to philanthropy projects, Hang Seng China is also helping the individual micro businesses in the rural area with the last mileage financial inclusion service. In 2021, Hang Seng Bank of China, together with IFC's invitation, provide 综合农信 2 loans, altogether 2.3 billion. 综合农信 is a comprehensive agriculture institution helping those local households in the rural areas. Those households have enthusiasm, but they don't have access to financial resources. This organization specifically provides help for them. A major business is to provide financial especially credit support for the rural area. By providing liquidity support, we can help those local households to receive financial support. We have been paying attention to the needs of those local households. We hope that through our efforts, we're able to further reach out to the rural areas. With that, I have given you a brief introduction of the practices of Hang Seng Bank China. I hope that we can have more opportunities of learning from each other in the future. In this way, for the implementation of strategy of rural revitalization, we can make contributions together. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Song, very much for your sharing. I'd like to thank Hang Seng Bank China for its contribution to rural revitalization. Of course, we hope that more and more foreign financial institutions can participate in rural revitalization. In order to implement rural revitalization strategy with a digital instrument to promote rural revitalization, our organization has launched the financial service for rural revitalization index together with us. So released the first phase of research results. Now let's look at the video to better understand this index.
正在加速显现。实施乡村振兴战略是以习近平同志为核心的党中央做出的重大部署。党的20大报告中提出，全面推进乡村振兴是金融系统开展农村金融服务工作的根本遵循。金融机构，特别是中国农业银行等国有大行，在服务乡村振兴中发挥投入效应，持续向县野农村倾斜政策资源，不断改革创新，强化科技赋能，加大金融供给，为全面推进乡村振兴、促进农民农村共同富裕提供高质量金融服务。未来，中国经济信息社和中国农业银行将进一步联合金融机构、业界专家、行业协会等各方力量，全面开启高频指数研究，围绕不同省域、不同服务主体构建系列指数，并探索与农业农村部合作开发新代指数车指数，服务新型农业经营主体信息需求。针对商业银行群体，推进乡村振兴服务成效评价，关注金融行业青年群体的动向，开展乡村振兴金融青年指数研究，全方位搭建农村金融服务数字化智控平台，共同打造信息服务生态圈，谱写乡村振兴事业新篇章。
Okay, distinguished guests, now we're about to release the index for the financial service rural revitalization. We're going to give the floor to Mr. Huang Hanquan, the Director of Center of Price and Cost Investigation and DRC, Mr. Xu Yuchang, Chairman and President of China Economic Information Services, Wang Minghao, Secretary of Party Group and President of Beijing Branch of Xinhua News Agency, and also Mr. Lei from the People's Bank of China, and Mr. Duan Xiaolei, please come to the stage. Please put your hand on the handprint on the screen. So the officials, please use the right hand if you stand on the right side, and then left hand with the officials standing on the left. Let's count down. 3, 2, 1. Let's all congratulate on the official release of the first research outcome on the index for the rural revitalization powered by financial service. Okay, thank you very much. Please take the seats. And I believe that many of you are really looking forward to learn more about this index. Indeed, this index has gathered the wisdom of the Agricultural Bank of China and the China Economic Information Services, including the business data, the other data, etc. They are going to be the important way for us to learn about the rural revitalization. Now let's give the floor to Mr. Cao Zhanzhong to give the further explanation about this index. Distinguished officials and guests, good morning. I myself is very glad that on behalf of the Xinhua Index team to report to you our research group. I believe that now through the video you've got a very preliminary knowledge about it. The video has talked about the journey and the background of the study of the index. In order to have a systematic evaluation of the work of rural revitalization, we also come out with the official launch of the program of index project of the financial service in rural revitalization. We started to do the in-depth study of the practice, and today we officially released this result. By compiling this index, we would like to receive the following results, including comprehensive summary, evaluation of the effect, monitoring in the key areas, and the observation of the typical cases. The study of the index is in the following areas. So in the first stage, we come out with the model with the 3 points. So first one, we are highlighting the evaluation of the results of the financial service for the rural areas, and we also consider 3 major areas, including the policy support, the fundamental support, and industry service. We have the annual and quarterly studies for this index. For the annual evaluation, I focus on the progress and outcomes evaluation of the every year, and the quarterly system are mainly focused on the trend of the financial products. So the specific index, so the evaluation model covering the fundamental support, the support from the policies, product services, and the service results, these 4 aspects. We also have the very specific sub-indicators. And among them, the first one, the fundamental support, reflects the ecosystem for the financial service, which is the cornerstone. That includes the one that we usually heard. For example, the establishment of the counting accounts. And with the digital-driven, the digital payment and mobile payment has made the innovation. For the policy support, it mainly reflects the policy support system. This is a very important propeller to guarantee the rural revitalization, including the preferential loans and intensity of the loan issuing policies. And the financial systems are also using different methods to issue the loans and to innovate the products like the bonds and the debts, etc. The service effect focus on the 2 dimensions, including the service intensity and quality. We will focus on the satisfaction of different types of the services and whether the services are equal, are balanced, and are safe. We have selected the data from 2017 to 2021. We selected this window to do the evaluation. The index are very high, and that means the trend is better. And we can find out that the ability of the financial innovation is increasing, especially on the right side. We can see the financial products are playing the major pulling role, and which are very obvious in recent years. We also have done the comparison, and we can see that the trend of the different aspects are quite high. And in the year 2021, the index is about 132.5, increased by 5.93 percentage points. So generally speaking, we have multiple ways to provide financial services, and especially the input has been intensified in the weak areas. The traditional service continuously playing their role, and innovative products are increasing too. At the same time, the roles of the financial guarantee has been increased. So in the year 2017, the financial insurance is about 47.9 billion RMB, while in the year 2021, we can see it has been doubled. In terms of the fundamental support, the environment, the eco-environment of the rural finance has been optimized. The foundation for the financial service has been strengthened. The agriculture support has been guaranteed in the rural areas. The numbers of the payment, digital payment or mobile payment, has also been increased. We also seen the collaterals of agriculture aspect system are also increasing. In the rural areas, the guarantee system, the scale of the residue of the amount under guarantee and newly added one has been increased about 9 times compared with the level of 2017. So that means that since the rural revitalization policy has been issued, the financial activities have been very active. At the same time, we can see that the different ministries and departments are providing more policies to support. So this index is also increasing. From this perspective, for the commercial banks, we also have the agricultural commercial banks representative, and also the other rural financial institutions. Their deposit reserves has been reduced, and there are many different types of financial. The interest rate for the loan and the has been reduced. In terms of the agricultural policy subsidies, insurance subsidies has also led the increase of the contribution of the agricultural insurance. The agricultural insurance is the very fast developing area. The Xinhua Index also have done a study. The study has been demonstrated this aspect. In terms of the financial services or the financing services, speed and scale are all increased. In the first 3 quarters this year, the increasing of the loans issued in the rural areas have been increased. The balance of the agricultural-related loans is higher than the other types of the loans. The result is very good. The intensity of the financial services is also increasing in the last 5 years. So from the quarterly monitored data, we have found out the index can find out the situation of increasing, and there's a phenomenon is that in the 4th quarter every year, you can see the highest level. In the year 2022, we also have seen the quarterly monitored data, and the performance are being increasing and improved. Also, the insurance are increasing, and also insurance is highly influenced by the cycle of agricultural activities. So there are bigger fluctuation in insurances. But in the first half, the performance was very good for the agricultural insurance, mainly due to the financial support of the government. The Xinhua Index team is going to continue our study with the support of different research institutes and ministries, and also the Agricultural Bank of China, to make full use of our data and channels to further fine-tuning this index to make sure we can better express the voices for rural revitalization. And that's all the sharing of our team. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Cao, very much for your detailed explanation. Based on this index, we are able to have a better understanding of financial support for rural revitalization. In recent years, Xinhua Index has released a number of related index products. We should say that in its practice, it has really provided very useful practices for rural revitalization. In order to further use the typical cases of financial services for rural revitalization, the collection of typical cases has been organized by CEIS, Xinhua New Agency, in the end Eventually, 10 case studies are selected, but however, today Yang Chunhua is not able to come to this event in person. Julie Zhi will release the typical cases of financial services for rural revitalization. Honorable leaders and guests, good morning. President Xi Jinping, in the 20th National Congress report, said that we need to comprehensively promote rural revitalization. We need to accelerate the development of agriculture industry. We need to establish a beautiful rural area to improve financial services for rural revitalization, to further strengthen financial system in the rural area. That is a requirement of the top leadership on the issue of agricultural rural areas and farmers. It points out the direction for our work in the new issue. It's also a fundamental requirement of rural revitalization. In recent years, MARA, together with the BBC and the CBIRC, we jointly implement the deployment of the State Council and the Party Central Committee. We've formulated a number of policy measures to promote financial support for rural revitalization. In 2019, the PPC, CSRC, CBIRC, Ministry of Finance, and MARA jointly released the document about guiding financial support for rural revitalization. In 2021, PPC and other departments together formulated another document about strengthening financial support for the consolidation of the achievement of poverty alleviation and comprehensively support rural revitalization. In 2021, the PPC and the CBIRC also formulated an assessment approach for the financial institutions service for rural revitalization. All of those documents have created a very sound policy environment. Various financial institutions also respond to the requirement of the central government. They've strengthened their supply for rural area of financial products and services. There has occurred a large amount of typical case studies. As a result, they have become role models of financial support for rural revitalization. MARA, as well as the Xinhua News Agency, China Economic Information Service, have been paying high attention to financial support for rural revitalization over the years. This time, on the basis of in-depth surveys and data analysis, we jointly launched 10 typical case studies of financial support for rural revitalization. We are very glad that during this annual event of Financial Street Forum, we would like to release this 10 case studies. These 10 case studies include a very wide range of financial institutions, including ABC, China Construction Bank, and the China Agricultural Development Bank, as well as Wangshan Bank. We also have other type of financial institutions in which they strengthen their financial support for rural revitalization. Some of the cases are about the local government's practices in boosting financial support for rural revitalization. Some cases involve other financial institutions. To summarize them, they have the following characteristics. Firstly, they focus on innovation-driven spirit. Financial institutions use innovation to increase the supply of financial services for rural revitalization. For example, the Agricultural Bank of China has been using technologies to make innovations of smart agriculture scenarios. By offering financial services, they meet the requirements of the farmers. There are also cases of Beijing Rongxin Hulian Keji Company. By information technology, it provides agriculture and farmers profile in order to further promote financial services for them. The second characteristic is financial inclusion. For example, the Agricultural Development Bank of China also developed its own model to support common prosperity in the rural areas. As a result, it's able to activate the agriculture assets and help the local farmers to increase their income in Zhejiang. The case study we would like to announce here involves the My Bank. It provides the pure credit financial service without a guarantee requirement for the local places. The third characteristic is to highlight efficiency. Financial institutions and the local governments focus on the bottlenecks and the pinpoints of the local places and come up with targeted solutions to help solve the difficulties of the local households. For example, China Construction Bank and the Hebei local government work together to establish a comprehensive service platform, Yunongtong. It helps more than 8,000 rural households to enjoy this service. Agricultural mechanical companies can also use this platform to reduce the cost of a supply chain. Sichuan, Meishan, Dongpo region focus on the difficulty of access to credit in the local areas. By providing solutions, the local households are able to have access to loan services. As a result, financial inclusion coverage is further expanded. Xiangcai Zhengquan securities companies also are included in our case studies release. It provides very efficient support for the local planting industry by its own services. The next characteristic is comprehensive empowering. For example, Chongqing Yongchuan Postal Service helps the local place to develop multiple added value services. Du Xiaoman uses fintech to provide loans for households which have needs for financing, meanwhile through rural revitalization talents training program. It helps to develop a local talents pool. It works with the local government to offer online broadcasting channels for the local households to promote their product sales there. Qiming Chuangtou uses its own advantages to help the local villages to find their own entrepreneurs and help those entrepreneurs to start up their own business. As a result, it has supported a large number of foreigners of rural revitalization. So all in all, the above-mentioned case studies are all role models of financial support for rural revitalization. To make best use of those role models is very beneficial to financial innovation, especially financial support for rural revitalization. Leaders and guests. To comprehensively promote rural revitalization requires the joint efforts of the whole society. Finance is a major source in this process. We have a big potential. We have a big role to play. Let's continuously make efforts to comprehensively make contributions to promote rural revitalization. Thank you. Thank you, Julie G, very much for your efforts to release this report. I'd also like to ask all of us to make a better use of our resources to promote rural revitalization. So with that, we come to the end of the first part of this forum. Through the keynote speeches and the release of the index and the case studies, I believe you must have had a deeper understanding of the financial role for rural revitalization. In practice, how should we promote, how should we implement, how should we better serve rural revitalization? Now we will have a round table. So I would like to invite the moderator of the round table, Chief Economist of Guotai Junan Securities, He Haifeng. Please. Honorable leaders and guests, I'm very glad that the annual conference of Financial Street Forum 2022's session on financial support for rural revitalization is going to have this roundtable discussion. I would like to introduce the roundtable panelists. They are Deputy Director General of Financial Research Institute of PPC, Lei Yao. Vice President of Beijing Rural Commercial Bank, Mr. Li Baoxu. Vice President and Head of Government Affairs, Greater China for Visa, Zhang Zhaoyang. Xinhua Index Company Chairman, Cao Jianzhong. Please come on to the stage. Just now, we finished the release of the case studies. The case studies are very colorful. I believe you must have already got the manual about those case studies. So focusing on the index, which is just released, and the case studies, which are just released as well, we would have an in-depth discussion on rural revitalization. Our 4 panelists today are from different sectors and organizations. I believe they can provide us with very comprehensive knowledge and information. We will have 2 rounds. In the first round, I have prepared a topic for the panelists to discuss. After the first round, we will have a brief second round of summary. First, I'd like to invite Deputy Director General Lei Yao of Financial Research Institute of PPC. The research institute is a major research institute of financial policies and financial theories. Many financial policies, before they were launched, the early stage of studies were carried out in this research institute. So, Mr. Lei, according to the 20th National Congress report, we should promote high-quality development. High-quality development is a top priority. We need to comprehensively promote rural revitalization. To promote high-quality development and to develop a new development pattern, what kind of a financial system is necessary? What kind of a modern financial system is necessary? Especially in the new circumstances, how can we understand financial support for comprehensive rural revitalization? Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much for your invitation. I'd also like to thank for your introduction as well. I believe this is a very important topic. In recent period of time, together with my colleagues, we have carefully studied the spirit of the report of the 20th National Congress of the CPC. In the new period,
how can we do a better job of financial sector? I think the task has, or the direction has been made. Among them, how to make sure the financial sector can better serve the rural revitalization, improve the financial system in the rural areas, and to do a good job in the financial services sector with Chinese characteristics is the important information of China's financial sector, and also one of our major discussions. And also, based on today's discussion, I'd like to share with you some information and also some of my own reflections. So first, as we know that since the 18th Party Congress of the CPC, when the rural revitalization was proposed, the financial system and financial sectors are following the deployment and instructions of the Central Committee and the government. We have taken rural revitalization as an important job. We have issued a series of policy supports, and I'd like to summarize this work into 12 Chinese characters. Fully implementation, outline the priority to show the support and the guarantee. So in terms of fully implement the financial service in rural revitalization, our colleagues from Xinhua News Agency also have expressed that in recent years, relevant departments are working together to issue many policies to support the rural revitalization, including the financial service to further consolidate the outcomes of poverty eradication. So in terms of improving the financial organization system, product system, policy system, and to innovate the financial products to the rural areas and to expand the channels for the direct financing in rural-related areas, we have done the very comprehensive upgrading to better serve the rural areas. And this is something about fully implementation. So in terms of the outlining the priorities, we can find out that the different parties and the organizations are strengthening the support for the rural revitalization. The fundamental jobs have been done, including increase the support to the major players of the rural areas, and also how to provide more services. And maybe this is also to better serve the food safety and to better make the collections. And considering the impact of the COVID-19, especially its impact to the recent 2 or 3 years to the rural areas, especially we are still have the task to further consolidate the result of poverty reduction. Many departments have issued relevant policy support. In terms of strengthening the policy, we have found out that relevant parties are working on the supervision, and some are working on the information service provision. For example, in terms of the evaluation, we have the differentiated evaluation to different types of the financial institutions. And just now, the colleagues also mentioned the rural revitalization project evaluation led by the PBOC. And Xinhua Index series is also something from the market, the evaluation from the market. So I think that these series of actions are the encouragement to the financial institution, but also a kind of supervision to their work. In certain specific areas, the adjustment and the optimization measures has been taken. For example, to fully the accountability system and to guarantee that we can better serve the rural areas to make sure the farmers are willing and can able to have the access to the loans. All these are the jobs I mentioned previously. So generally speaking, the rural areas in recent years, the cost for financing has been reduced, the risks can be shared, the coverage is increasing, and also we have very strict regulation. I'd like to share with you some data. By the year 2022, the third quarter, the loans for the rural-related aspects is about 40 is about 4.3 billion RMB, increased by 13.7%. And in this way, its share in the whole basket is also continuously increasing. And just now, our colleagues from Xinhua News Agency has said that there were several percentage point growth has been mentioned, and this is a really hard-won result. And in the grassroots level, in the rural areas, the financial service is also continuously making very good results. At the end of the first half of this year, in the rural areas, the banks and outlet services is about 780,000. The coverage is about 98% in the rural areas. And basically, all the rural administrations have realized the full coverage of the financial services and the insurance services. In terms of agricultural insurance, we can also see the fast development. In terms of the statistics, with the local advantages, the specialized rural areas is about 270. By September this year, the scale of the contribution of the agricultural insurance has been increased by 22.6% year on year. This has further consolidated the position of ranking the top in this aspect in the world. For the rural-related direct finance is also developing fast. By the end of September this year, the total financing tools is about 2 trillion RMB, and from January to September, it's about 224 billion RMB, supporting 120 enterprises. And many of the products and the types of shares are also increasing. And many of the risks can be very well managed among the newly invented products. In terms of the supervision, by the end of September, we can see that the number of the products under the guarantee is about 1.15 million. So this is also effectively sharing the risks of the loans in rural areas, because people are also talking about the other works, including in the first 3 quarters. For the rural cooperatives, the accumulated NPL is about 500 billion RMB in Zhejiang. We've already seen the establishment of the agricultural cooperative banks, and the same kind of bank in the other provinces is also being approved by the State Council already. And I believe that this will be very helpful for us to further implement the jobs deployed in the 20th National Congress of CPC. And this is also helping us to further improve the support in the rural system. Thank you, moderator. Okay. Thank you very much, Mr. Lei. So the fully implementation and to strengthening the support and highlighting the priorities, we should pay attention to the small and micro enterprises. At the same time, to provide enough financial support to fully realize the rural revitalization. We have the financial system and the product system and the client system. Very glad to see that at the end of the third quarter, it's about 3.2 trillion RMB in terms of the loans. It's very astonishing. So to fully provide the financial support to the rural revitalization, we need both the theoretical studies and the policy support, but also the practice of the different financial institutions are also very important. And now we'd like to give the floor to the Vice President of Beijing Rural Commercial Bank, Mr. Li Baoxu. to share with us their practice in the very front line. The question I would like to ask you is that in the year 2019, the CBRC and CSRC has issued the guidelines on how the financial sector can better support rural revitalization. And in this document, it is mentioned that we need to further improve the service system, especially to guide the rural-related institutions should go back to their priority. So as the leader of the rural-related banks in the front line, how the Beijing Rural Commercial Bank is working to promote rural revitalization based on the Beijing's situation. Thank you, moderator. I myself is Li Baoxu from Beijing Rural Commercial Bank. According to the questions proposed by the moderator, I'd like to share with you my ideas. The first one is that rural revitalization requires the financial service, and it is a very important aspect of our work to provide financial service to the rural areas. Our bank has been remain committed to the service to the agriculture, the farmers, and the rural areas. So we've been working on that, and that's our long-term task. Our job to serve the rural agriculture and farmers is the foundation for the whole country, and our financial institution also share our mission and responsibilities in this aspect. Beijing Rural Commercial Bank is a bank or enterprise under the municipality's supervision. And it is also the first rural commercial bank established at the provincial level. Since the foundation, we are always working to serve the rural areas, the farmers, and agriculture. And basically, we are mainly providing services to our clients living outside of the fourth ring in Beijing. And in Beijing, we have about 600 outlets. And the outlets outside of the fourth ring is about 400. At the same time, in the rural areas, we also have set up the rural C-stores that are mainly provided in the villages. And with the development, we previously focused on the villages with 1,000 people. But due to the rapid urbanization, the population in the rural areas are reducing. So in the rural areas, we at the beginning set up 1,900 C-stores. So both administrative and the natural villagers all have this C-stores. We have this equipment, and we also have invited instructor, mainly to provide the basic financial service, so that they do not need to leave the villages, and they can have the deposit and to save money or to get the money, and they can also pay the fees in these C-stores, and also they can work on many different other works, basic services. At the same time, these villages C-stores is a promotional or publicity area. So according to the requirements of the authority, the publicity of protecting themselves of the frauds are done in these C-stores in the villages. So according to the requirement of PBOC, the publicities and promotion works are done for the relevant policies of a financial sector issued by the central government and relevant ministries. Especially in recent years, in the financial fraud, it's quite severe in the rural areas. So we are making full use of the roles of C-stores to work on the fraud prevention and attacking, including the prevention of the fraud currencies. During the Winter Olympic Games, we've done something that is in the rural areas, especially in the villages and in the some fairs or markets. They are frequently using the paper currency, which were very old. And during the Winter Olympic Games, we've done a lot of work. So that is so we can exchange their old and broken currencies to the new ones, and we've done a lot of work in these aspects. And all these are based on the financial service to the rural areas. Well, actually, in the rural areas, to do the financial service, there were also many difficulties. So first is that I can summarize as this. The financial service in the rural areas have the feature of 3 heights and 1 low points. The first one is that investment is high, the cost is high, the risk is high. At the same time, the benefit is low.
The return is low, or sometimes there is no return. For example, in the rural area, if we want to develop a financial service infrastructure, for example, if we set up a convenience store there, we need to have investment in equipment, in people, in resources. One equipment, especially one smart equipment, every year we probably need to invest 50 to 60,000. But we need to have a coach as well. Every year, 2,000 coaches. The payment to them every year will be around 10 to 20 million. In the service process, the cost is rather high. Another thing is about risk. In the rural area, the risk is rather high as well. Why? For example, if we provide financial products, after the products are delivered, especially in the rural area, especially when it involves agricultural products, the risks are rather high because they depend on the nature, the weather conditions, and the cycle is rather long. That is why it is prone to risks. It's also highly fragmented. Right now, in the rural area, in the past, we were able to find large villages, but nowadays it's rather difficult to find large villages anymore. At most, the population there is 200 or 300. If we provide financial services for such smaller villages, the cost would be much higher. And the return is rather low as well. So actually, it's a kind of implementing our social responsibility for the local people in order to provide equal access to financial services with that of urban residents. That's what we have been doing over the years. Following the requirement of the municipal government, following the requirement of the party committee of the headquarters, we have been fulfilling our social responsibility. We've really done a lot, but indeed, it's never easy. For example, risks in the rural area, especially when we provide financial services related to agricultural products, they are very prone to risks. For example, in case of collateral, the collateral in the rural area actually is not supported by many policies nowadays. If you say, I use my house as a collateral, but you don't have ownership, it is rather difficult for us to have policy support for such a collateral. It's a big challenge to us. The credit environment in the rural area is not sufficient. It's not adequate. It's still a work in process. Of course, we've done really a lot. But in general, in this area, we really have inadequacy. Another thing is about financial risk prevention. The awareness also needs to be increased. The farmers are not very aware of the financial risks. And the digital gap does exist in the rural area. Even in Beijing, not to mention other parts of the countries, even in Beijing, the farmers of Beijing still face this problem. We do have some smart outlets. Our farmers, our clients in the rural area still use their banknotes. They use their banknotes and they feel assured when they have a deposit. If they hold a card, they are not assured about their deposit in the banks. So in terms of a digital gap, we do need to strengthen our work to narrow it down. Another thing is products related to agricultural products. We do have difficulties as well. All the above mentioned issues need to be addressed. All in all, at our bank, we do have done a lot. Still, it's never easy. It's never easy. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Li. At the Financial Street Center, without Mr. Li's introduction, here at the headquarters, here at the Financial Street, it's never easy for us to really understand the difficulty of providing financial services for the rural areas. Even in Beijing, the three highs and one low situation, we will never know it. Thanks to the introduction of Li, we are able to better understand the situation. Even faced with such difficulties outside the fourth ring, there are more than 1,900 smart equipments and a coach there. It's really a big investment. You have shouldered social responsibility faithfully. You are a backbone to provide financial services in the rural area. 1,900 outlets are equipped with smart equipment and a coach. To some extent, this is also an effort of financial inclusion and financial education. Now let's turn our perspective to the international community. We will have a head of government affairs of Greater China Visa, Vice President Zhang Zhaoyang. Vice President Zhang Zhaoyang has prepared a PPT. Visa is an international payment technology company. It's a modern internet platform. Over 10 years, it has promoted many financial inclusion practices in China. Mr. Zhang at Visa, in the process of participating in rural revitalization, you have accumulated many experiences. What are the challenges, in your opinion, we are faced with? For example, have you ever encountered similar challenges as Mr. Li? Meanwhile, fintech companies, and how can they better support rural revitalization? What's your observations? You can give us a detailed response based on your PPT. We can have a look at the differences between at home and abroad. Thank you. Hi, everyone. Good morning. I'm very glad to participate in Visa in today's forum. Visa is a global digital payment company. So from the perspective of digital payment, I'd like to share with you Visa's experience of digital financial inclusion. Our efforts in China's rural revitalization, I'd also like to share them with you. We know that digital payment is the entry of many financial services. It has a high frequency of utilization. It has a high stickiness of customers. To B, to C, and to G, businesses can all use digital payment. Digital payment is also a major link of financial services in rural area. Micro businesses and rural households access to loans is a worldwide difficulty. Small and micro businesses generate transaction information and payment information. This information can be used for credit score assessment and then can be used by banks. Digital payment can play a very important role in financial inclusion. At Visa, we believe everyone should have access to digital payment and similar financial products and services. But according to data of the World Bank, at present, 1.7 billion of population worldwide don't have official banking service. So in 2015, in response to the World Bank initiative of financial inclusion, by end of 2020, for 500 million people, we will provide digital payment service for them. We have achieved this goal earlier than scheduled. After years of efforts, Visa's network has covered more than 200 countries and regions. With 15,000 financial institutions, we jointly launched 4 billion Visa cards, 80 million of Visa merchants. At present period of time in COP and Gankou, we've established outlets there to help around 200 million poor population. In 2020, after the outbreak of the pandemic, digital development in payment business accelerated. Within 3 years, we support 50 million of small and micro businesses' digital transformation. To that end, we've also strengthened our digital payment empowerment. For merchants, we launch online safety payment instrument SRC. We provide the payment interface, user-friendly interface for merchants, and help them to increase their sales. At the background office, we guarantee online payment safety by our technological advancement. We use token to replace account information. As a result, we are able to decrease fraud significantly. Over the past years, we have released 5 billion of tokens. In China, Visa works with the China Women's Development Foundation and other partners to develop the project of Beijing 2022 and women. We help women business owners to use the opportunity of Winter Olympic to develop their own business. In China, we also see that the payment industry, in terms of empowering financial inclusion, has made a major achievement. Just now, according to the release of the index and case studies, we've all seen this. We can also see that in China right now, 900,000 service points have been established. Mobile payment has reached out even to the farmland. At the supply side, payment service has already, for rural revitalization, laid down a very good foundation. But at the demand side, for mobile finance, people's awareness and trust are still not sufficient. So the penetration of mobile finance still has a long way to go. Just now, Mr. Li has also given us an introduction of his bank's practices in this area. In order to solve this problem, in order to help to increase the rural residents' financial awareness, we really need to do a lot of work. In order to help the rural population to enhance their financial awareness, we launched our financial inclusion program. Together with the government and public and social sectors, we work with government agencies and research institutes. We carry out joint surveys and studies. We offer training together. For example, with the State Council Development Research Center, focusing on financial service for rural revitalization, we jointly conducted a research project and come up with policy recommendations. We also carried out a series of financial inclusion trainings. We supported more than 200 grassroots officials and practitioners. Over the past 6 years, with the guidance of the PPC, Visa, together with a number of partners to participate in financial inclusion, we carry out financial education for rural population. Our project provides more than 60 million person times of training, help them to better understand the financial instruments and use them to improve their life and work. Looking into the future, rural revitalization relies heavily on talents revitalization. In the future, we will continue to work with our partners to jointly promote talents pool development for rural revitalization. We have formulated a plan for the training of rural women leadership. We hope by such efforts we can promote rural revitalization. We look forward to joining hands with you in such efforts in the future. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Zhang. As we know that 1 week ago, the global population reached 8 billion, and just now, Mr. Zhang have shared with us 2 figures. Until today, there is still 1.7 billion people do not have the financial services, and Visa has already issued 4.1 billion cards, especially their cooperation with China have realized that in the cooperative areas, everyone has the Visa card and every family has the account. The digital payment is very important. Today is a digital era. The technology is empowering the finance and also changing finance. The small and micro household are also using the Visa card, and this is also the working priority of a Visa of inclusive finance. It's also important to train and turn out the talents. No matter for talents or the fintech, the financial service to the rural areas will be the quality and the effect. So now I'd like to give the floor to Mr. Cao, who is the chair of the Xinhua Index Company and also deputy director for the Financial Index Research Institute from Xinhua University. And just now he has issued and shared with us the information of the index about rural revitalization. Just now, we also heard that there is a guidance about how to use the financial technology to better serve the rural areas. And it said that the infrastructure needs to be improved. So, Mr. Cao, how do you think of the importance of the financial infrastructure? And IT is an important part of this infrastructure. So, what is the role to help the financial support to the rural areas, and what will be the future key areas? Thank you, moderator. Thank you very much for continuing to stay with us. And just now, on behalf of the Xinhua Index, I have shared the research outcomes of us. And this research outcome, in our opinion, is the starting point of the study. And actually, in a short video, we have the vision for the future. So the finance support the rural revitalization can be realized in many different aspects. It has a very broad system. So we are just at the beginning, and in that system, we have a sharing. That is, in the future, we're going to integrate finance with the resources in rural areas to realize digitalization. And we will have the quarterly evaluation and the monthly evaluation. And in the future, in the rural areas, the talents is the area that needs to be further improved. And they were also going to do the index study for the talents needed for the financial sectors in the rural areas. At the same time, we can be together to come out with the support for the rural areas in terms of the financial talents. And this is the sharing. And this time, I'd like to talk about Xinhua Index Company. We actually have a very big program platform that is Xinhua Finance, which is also an important organizer of today's forum. The index, this national finance platform, consists of this index system. As the chair have said, since the 18th Party Congress, the CPC Central Committee has pointed out the infrastructure, especially the key information infrastructure of the financial sector, needs to be domesticated. We should have more constructions in this aspect, and we should follow the detailed expectations and instructions of the Central Committee of the General Secretary. So the company we are working on is working positively to promote the key part of the financial infrastructure. So personally, over the decade, I have done a study of the ports And according to my study, I think it's quite similar to the financial sector. President Xi has his own understanding about the ports, and we should focus on the infrastructure and also build the soft connection. To return to the financial sector, the national level's financial information infrastructure is a very important soft infrastructure for the whole financial market in China. So for the financial institutions and the financial transaction marketplace, together with this platform, they form a complete financial ecosystem. So the construction of this aspect is actually the financial exchange, no matter it's a high frequent or low frequent transaction, internal transaction, or or international transaction. This will be the core competitiveness, and we should build it very well. So this is something I would like to share to you about rural revitalization and how the financial services can empower the rural revitalization. And secondly, the chair have talked about the economic information is playing a bigger role. I would also like to share with you from the Xinhua Index Company. In the last years, we didn't do much of the work. It's very easy, simple. We only done 3 works. Number 1 is to face the whole world, and our target is to build us as the excellent and a whole process index company. And we are mainly building the financial and capital index and to meet the demand for the asset management. This is quite close to the rural revitalization. Our team is doing a study of how the rural support for the rural revitalization, and when we are doing the study of these policies and documents, we found out that in the rural areas, the farmers, including myself, is from the rural areas. Their fund, their money, every single behavior is very influential to their future plan. And for the general public and in the rural areas, how the farmers can do the wealth management and how to help them to manage their money and fund is very important. And I used to discuss this with our colleagues from the Agricultural Bank of China. And in these aspects, in the future, we can use the method in the financial market and to set up the index fund to pool and gather the social capital to the major objects to make sure these financial products can be shared to the rural areas from the long-term perspective. At the same time, we will do a better job of the protection of the consumers. So this is being explained in the document of financial support for the rural revitalization. And also, the second thing we have been doing is that the Xinhua Index is focusing on China's national condition. We've done something very interesting in rural areas. The investment is high, cost is high, risk is high, benefit is low. But under these circumstances, there is a major task, which is also a priority, that is how to revitalize the industry. Well, the core products are necessary, and how to have the good quality and good practice of a good price of the rural products. We've done something in the past, that is to organize the professional team to build the professional model and to come out with the process and apply them in rural areas, especially in the remote areas, covering Xinjiang, Yunnan, and northeast country. On every piece of land, especially places with the special agricultural products, we come out with the model for the price of price index of the agricultural products. In this way, we can help the farmers to build the brand for the good agricultural products and to increase the price and to make good use of the channel and platform of Xinhua News Agency. So, these are the job we have been doing in the past. It's simple, but we have released different agricultural index. We have the coffee index and the mango in Yunnan, in Shanxi. We have the apple index in Yuncheng. We also have the date index. So even though these data are limited, but we think these are very big discoveries, very helpful for the industry development in rural areas. And the third thing we have been doing is that we are the high-end think tank of the Xinhua News Agency. So we have done some studies from the perspective of the industry. We do the study of the areas that people and the government care about, for example, the food safety. And for the food and the vegetables, we have selected Inner Mongolia, Shandong province. These places with the special products, we have set up the national food security model. So the food production, circulation, restoration, storage, and selling of the agricultural products in rural area in Inner Mongolia has been done, and this has been very well recognized by the government. In Shandong, the vegetable production, circulation, distribution, and sales, including the pre-treated vegetable, which is a trend. We are setting up the very good vegetable model to better serve the development of the vegetable sector. So this is the third aspect. So these are three major tasks. Is also something that can be regarded as the infrastructure in the rural areas. It is better serving the rural areas, agriculture, and the farmers' demand. And this is the things we have been doing in the past. And also, to the future, we will focus on the following aspects. After years of development, first, we have the discovery in little areas, but we are creating big values. We are unleashing these big values. We have found out that digital China, digital government, digital enterprises, and the digital market, many different aspects, can be promoted comprehensively. And we believe that in the future, there will be an important area to be further promoted in the rural areas, in agriculture, which also has been mentioned in the document of financial support for rural revitalization. For example, in terms of building the credit households, it's different than the rural areas because in the urban areas we have these services of the information connection and the credit system. So Mara has been done very well in this work. So in the future, we think we should make sure the financial support from the financial institutions can be connected well with the needs from the rural areas. And the information infrastructure is very necessary. In the future, we think this is something we need to further solve, which should provide a complete solution and to come out with the financial connect in urban areas to the rural areas, to create the scenarios for the application, select the appropriate areas. And the Ministry of Information and Technology is also having their own plan, providing very good samples at the specific counties. And we are going to do the same exploration. At the same time, we have the professional levels connection in the rural areas, and all these have come out with the help of the index. And these are the sharings of the study of our think tanks. So in terms of the professional digital solutions, in the future, the rural areas will be the very important area and component. Thank you very much. Okay, thank you, Mr. Cao. We're really looking forward to hear more. And based on the previous study and topic, he has further shared more information. Xinhua Index is very outstanding. They've done so many big works, especially fund the small area, but to create big values. And the digital village is also very important based on the digital government and digital enterprises. The hard connection and the soft connection needs the information flow and the physical equipment. And DEX is the best way to demonstrate these areas. Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Cao, again. And now for the 4 panelists, we'd like to give the last floor to you to use 1 or 2 sentences to summarize your main idea again to the audience.
Mr. Lei, please. Rural revitalization, we should say, is a very important priority in the new era and in the new journey. Financial service for rural revitalization in the next stage needs to be more targeted. In the rural area, financial service involves a higher cost and higher risks. The return usually takes a longer period of time. Identify the targeted recipients is also rather difficult. There is also possible information asymmetry and even moral hazard. So faced with the above-mentioned issues, on the one hand, we should more comprehensively and correctly understand the spirit of the 20th National Congress of the CPC. On the other hand, we should be more targeted and more market-oriented when we provide financial services in the rural area. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Lei. Faced with real issues, we need to focus on the key targets. We need to be more targeted. We need to be more comprehensive. Thank you. Mr. Li, please. Our bank will continue to carry out our work to serve agriculture, rural areas, and the farmers. Especially for the suburb area of Beijing, we will shoulder our responsibility as a state-owned enterprise. We will take tangible measures to build modern rural financial system. We will use our own rich experience to help the rural revitalization in the surrounding area of Beijing. Okay, thank you. Thank you very much, Mr. Li, focusing on suburb area of Beijing and provide financial services for those local people. Mr. Zhang, to narrow down digital gap is very important for rural revitalization. Financial institutions provide financial services and products. On the other hand, the financial industry's service efficiency should also be enhanced in the rural area. In the process, the government and market players need to work together and form a synergy. Visa is very glad to be part of this process. We will join hands with you to boost rural revitalization by providing financial services there. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Zhang, very much. Join hands together to eliminate the digital gap. That's really well said. Okay, Mr. Cao, we will formally promote the financial information infrastructure national project construction. We will comprehensively empower financial services for rural revitalization. Okay, promote information infrastructure and empower rural revitalization. Thank you all very much for your great sharing. Honorable leaders and guests and honorable audiences, both offline and online, I'd like to thank you once again for your attention and your participation. Financial service for rural revitalization session comes to the end now. Thank you very much. Let's see each other next year. Thank you.